Well, a bit earlier on, I spoke to the Minister of Labour, Mildred, Oliphant, to share some of the insights about this job summit and what her expectations were.
I think everybody must listen to the President because the social partners has been in discussions on where the government must intervene and also what will be the commitment by the private sector and the organized labor, including the community. What they have agreed upon is that they will finalize 5 issues in particular where the President must pronounce on them. But I must say this is the starting time to look at how we can create employment, and also, as you well aware, there are challenges where other companies are saying they are going to retrench. And we have agreed that business people must also discuss that particular issue and come up with a way forward on how we can avoid that. Because as the government, we do have some mechanisms of dealing with those particular issues. And therefore, I would urge everybody to contribute, particularly the young people, because the program is focusing on the employment of young people. Those who were either in the fixed-term contracts and those who will be their first time to be employed.
All right, so again, a lot of people will be wondering, what's going to be different this time around? What is it that you're going to discover now that you shouldn't have already known before?
The difference this time is that we have said all social partners must commit on how we're going to deal with the issues of job creation and employment. For example, the government must come up with the programs that they will implement immediately. And I know that some of the departments have started those particular programs, like the Department of Labour. And also, where we said the government must prioritize, for example, when you look at the agricultural sector, what is it that the government has to do? So those are the pronouncements that will be made by the President, and also organized labor. What commitments are they going to make tomorrow? And as you well aware that previously they committed to say government can utilize part of the pension fund for investment. And at that particular time, I think it was in 2012, where they said government can utilize around 10% of the government employees' pension fund. The question is, did we monitor that implementation or not? I would say no, we didn't. And also organized business as well. We're saying let them commit and also monitor whether those commitments are going to be implemented. So we want that everybody, after the job summit, must say this is what we have committed to, and therefore this is how we're going to monitor the implementation of that particular program. Right, and we have also agreed that we need to identify issues that should be implemented in a short term, medium term, and a long term, so that we can have a space to make sure that everything is being implemented.
All right, so your theme for this summit is United We Create Jobs. The question is, you're not united though. It must be a concern for you that a Labour Federation of the size of SAFTU is not coming, and they're not holding much hope for what will come out of this summit. How are you going to be able to feel like this is a collective decision when a big chunk of Labour is not there?
What we must understand, first and foremost, is that this is the President's program. And the President said it must be done under the auspices of NETLEC. So at NETLEC, there are constituencies that are recognized in terms of the NETLEC policy. But the President went further to invite SAFTU to be part of the job summit. So I think whatever we are going to do, I will appeal to SAFTU that they must attend this summit, because everybody is going to make a commitment and they will be able to also engage on those particular issues where whatever they are having as a challenge, I think they will have a space, because the Office of the President is open for them to engage now and again. I think everybody, I would say, they must come so that at the end of the day, we can say all of us, we are part of making sure that the South African economy is growing.
All right. So a little bit earlier on, you talked about job retention. You said that the private sector must stop talking about retrenchments. Does that apply to government as well? We're hearing about civil servants that might be retrenched.
The president has made it clear that the government is not going to retrench. Let me clarify that particular issue, because that issue of retrenchments, it was part of the negotiations during the public wage negotiations, when the Department of Finance said, if we are going to increase the salaries of public servants with 15 or 20%, then they will be forced to retrench so many people. And that was the issue that was between the negotiators at the bargaining council then. It was not the decision of the government. That's why the president has clarified that the government has not taken that decision.
Will we see major shifts in policy? Because a lot of people are saying without overhauling policy, a lot of these ambitions will remain that, ambitions.
We have said one, particularly the private sector, they must indicate which are the exact policies and which exact clauses that needs to be reviewed so that jobs can be created. For example, you will hear people saying labor laws in this country are rigid. But my argument is that South Africa has flexible labor laws because one, for example, if you start a business, you have 2 years exemption in terms of the labor laws. Two, if you can't afford as a business person, you need to apply for the exemption. But we are saying when you apply for the exemption, we do need a proof that you will really not afford to do so. So those are the issues that we have to sit down and discuss and say, what is it that we have to do? For example, when it comes to the issues of visas, that issue now has been dealt with based on the recommendations by the private sector. And also, when it comes to the issues that relate to transport as well, there are processes that are being done. So when we sit together and say these are the challenges and how we should deal with those challenges, we are able to resolve those issues rather than to generalize. Because I think both of us as government, employers and workers and the communities, we need to say what is it that is hindering the growth of the economy in the country. And then we'll be able to say this is how we have to deal with those particular issues.
All right, and perhaps in conclusion, if you could just give us maybe a timeline of expectation. You've mentioned short-term, medium-term, long-term. What are the goalposts that you're looking to reach, and when can people start to say, okay, these plans are starting to work now, we're starting to see a shift, we're starting to see jobs being created?
Whatever, one of the issues that are going to be declared, I must say, is the issue of the monitoring, joint monitoring by all the constituencies. For example, we have agreed that within 6 months, we have to monitor the implementation of the agreed programs. And I must also say, there are departments that have already started these programs. For example, the Department of Labour. I think you're well aware that we have started the training of young people in aviation in KZN, but they come from different provinces. But because aviation needs a coastal line, that's why we have started. But we are going to expand those particular programs. Those young people are being trained in particular as pilots, and also there are those that are being trained now as scuba divers. And we have even funded the young people that said we want to be participating in agriculture. And we have 10 cooperatives, and they are saying we want to be millionaires in a few years. And I must say the private sector, Pick n Pay, has committed to buy from those young women vegetables. So those are the programs that we are saying, let us work together as South Africans and look at what is it that we can achieve together.